Marysville Roundtable, a discussion on current events, sports, and entertainment.
Marysville High School has had a lot of successful alumni. Joining us today is Ali Bastianelli, a prime example of that. She is now a professional volleyball player and joins us today to share her experiences throughout her journey. Good morning, Ali.
Morning.
So everybody has to start somewhere when they play a sport. When and why did you start playing volleyball?
So my mom played volleyball in college, and then she coached a few years after I was born. So I was always in the gym with her. She played basketball and volleyball in college. So then she coached, and I was just always exposed to those sports. So naturally I picked up volleyball, and I started playing competitively when I was in 5th grade.
That's really cool. So as we all know, you went to Marysville and you were a Viking. So what role did you play for our varsity volleyball team?
I had a lot of roles. I started out being coached by Coach Knuth, who's obviously a legendary coach around here, and he had me initially playing right side. We had 2 pretty established middles at the time, and I was pretty uncoordinated, so I couldn't really play middle yet. So I started out as a right side, and throughout the season, I just gradually became a middle, and I stepped into that role. We had a senior middle, Haley Booms, and so I looked up to her. She really just inspired me to be better and to be in that role. My sophomore year, I was also a middle. I stayed in middle, and then I think it was my junior year was when I played all these different roles. I played like outside for 2 rotations, and then I set from the back row, and I played middle for 1 rotation. I was playing 6 rotations, so it was interesting, but I was happy to play any role that I was put into. I was actually a setter when I started out, so I really enjoyed the setting part, setting from the back row, and just learning the different parts of the game.
So as you went from high school playing all these different roles to then college, what was that change and transition like?
Right, so I did end my senior year here at Marysville as a 6 rotation middle, which is kind of unheard of because middles don't really play defense or serve receive, but again, it was just a role I was happy to step into. And throughout my 4 years in high school, I was playing club as well in the off season. And in club, I was just a middle straight through. I was only front row middle, that was it. And from there, I had gotten recruited, and I eventually committed to the University of Illinois. And from there, I played middle all 4 years. I was a 4-year starter, which, again, in college doesn't often happen, especially as a freshman. So that was just a really exciting time as a freshman to be starting at a Big Ten school.
With that being said, what made you choose Illinois?
That's a great question. I was actually down to Michigan and Illinois, and Michigan had a lot of really great things going for them, as in academics. It was close to home. The university itself is great. I like the coaches and the girls at the team. And same goes for Illinois, but there's something about Illinois that just called me and said, okay, this is your home. This is where you're going to excel for the next 4 years. And it's a really small town college. It's in the middle of Illinois, middle of nowhere, cornfields everywhere. And something about that kind of reminded me of here, home. It's not Marysville's not a big city, and it's not the most glamorous city, but yet we have such a rich volleyball history, and that kind of is what Illinois was also about. And so I really liked that what I was used to growing up here, I could be comfortable with at college.
So with that being your new home, as you said, what new memories did you make throughout college?
Oh, there's so many. Well, first and foremost, I loved my coaches. I had a lot of coaching changes at my time. I had 2 new head coaches. So that was some challenges to overcome, but I loved my teammates. I met some of my best friends at college. We made it to the Final Four my senior year, which is incredible. It was, I think, the second or third Final Four in Illinois history. So that was exciting. I became a 3-time All-American. Like I said, coaching changes. I had to deal with possibly transferring, but obviously I didn't. So Yeah, college was probably the most rewarding time of my life so far.
I remember actually watching you on TV playing in the Final Four. So you went from college and now to pro. So how did you get that opportunity to go and play pro even overseas?
Right, so it's so different from, I mean, you have like the NFL draft or the NHL draft or MLB, like the dominating male sports all have drafts that are televised and hyped up and they have parties for them and all this stuff. But with volleyball, we don't have a draft because at the time we did not have a league in the US. So when we made it to the Final Four, I met with some agents because you're not allowed to talk to agents until you're done with your career. So some agents came to the Final Four, met with me. I talked to them, and that spring after my season, I kind of was trying to decide, okay, what agent do I want to go with? What contracts were they presenting me with? Because all these agents are usually based out of Europe, which is where all the leagues are. So I had opportunities to go to like Greece or France, none in Italy. Germany was an option. And so I decided to go with an agent that I felt the most comfortable with. And from there, he got me a contract in France. And it was a very long process. I know, like with the NFL, teams draft you. And with volleyball, you kind of get to pick what team you go to, which is kind of special. But now that we have a league in the US, we do have kind of a draft going for Athletes Unlimited. So I'm happy that's kind of getting the ball rolling so that, you know, men's and women's sports can kind of reach that equality.
Yeah, so being a pro, like you said, you were able to play in France. Are there any other places that you want to share with us or that were your favorite?
Yeah, so I also played 2 seasons in Puerto Rico. I played 1 in France, and then COVID happened, and so my season got cut short. And I was actually supposed to go back, but I ended up getting out of my contract. It was still kind of like heart of COVID, and I didn't want to go back to Europe and leave my family here. And so I was presented with an opportunity to play for Athletes Limited in Dallas, Texas. And it felt too good to be true. So I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to do this. So I played in Athletes Unlimited, and then I went to Puerto Rico. So that was 2021. And then again, this past year, I played in Athletes Unlimited and Puerto Rico. And I have nothing but good things to say about both leagues. The culture in Puerto Rico is amazing.
Yeah, so not only are you a player, but you've also helped coach at U of M and now with our varsity volleyball team. What has that been like from transition to player to coach?
It's really interesting. I had so many coaches throughout my career, just from when I was in 5th grade starting out all the way through playing with the USA team. And so I like it because I get to pull different things from all the coaches that I've had, you know. Some things I didn't like, some things I do like. And I like learning about the player because each player likes to be coached in a different way. And I've had coaches that kind of coach players all the same way, and those were the coaches that I didn't always love. I always respected my coaches, but there's a way that you can respect your coach and kind of pull from them and say, okay, if I ever become a coach, maybe I'll do something a little bit differently. So I really like learning the different coaching styles of how like players like to be coached and adapting to that and being able to coach like that.
Yeah, so also you had mentioned Athletes Unlimited, and I knew that is a very new thing amongst all female sports. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Athletes Unlimited it's kind of a futuristic style league. The European model is you have a team and you have a home base. It's similar to all other sports basically in the US, where you have a home base and then you travel within a league to go play all these other teams, and then there's a playoff and all of that. Athletes Limited is everyone's in one spot, so all 4 teams are in one spot. You get drafted to new teams every week, and it's 6 weeks. It's 5 weeks of competition, and at the end there's no real playoff. It's just one champion. So everyone kind of gets ranked 1 through 44, and they have volleyball, basketball, lacrosse, and softball. And I think they're adding one more in the next year or two, which will be really exciting because I feel like all these sports are underserved, especially like lacrosse and softball. Basketball at least has the WNBA here, but volleyball, all the leagues are in Europe. There's some Asian leagues, there's Puerto Rico, some South American leagues. Softball, I know, has some European leagues, and honestly, this is probably bad, but I don't know of any lacrosse leagues. And what happens when you're a college lacrosse player and you want to continue to play your sport? Your career is probably over unless you're playing recreationally. So AU really gives us the opportunity to continue to play in our home soil.
So speaking of new things, what are any new adventures that you would like to share with us for your upcoming years?
Yeah, so I will do Athletes Limited again this spring and kind of reevaluate where I see myself in my career. I had played with the U.S. national team for the last 2 summers, and that has been incredible. We went to Mexico and the Dominican this past summer and medaled there, and I felt like, wow, like my career is still peaking. I kind of thought I was going to be done after France, and then I just continued to play. So I don't really know when I'm going to be done, but I'll definitely be playing one more season this spring for sure. And that's with Athletes Limited again. And this year, it's a little bit different of a setup. We'll be doing a tour, so we'll be in like Texas and Chicago.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the very best of luck in your upcoming season. I am Brooklyn Evans from M6, your hometown station.
Marysville Roundtable, a discussion on current events, sports, and entertainment.